Facebook family. Elevate, episode 104, We Squared. Elevate, episode 104, We Squared. Thank you guys for coming on. I know we got a few people on already. Shar is over here to my right. I know I'm looking to my left. I don't understand this whole thing, but I'm looking to my right. And Shar is over there with her hair band, or what do you call that thing? Your hair scarf on. One day I'm gonna move this camera and show you guys Char, and she'll probably hate me the rest of my life. So I will not do that. But anyway, episode 104, We Squared. I know it might be hard to understand. I'm the pronoun we and a little two up there. We Squared. So when I labeled this and this deal here, I didn't know how to find the two, so I actually spelled out We Squared. SQU. But that's what it's about today. So I'm glad, appreciate you guys coming on. I'm going to go into the comments section. I see I got some comments coming in. Let's see here. I always get antsy and I hit the comment too many times. And here we go. So we got Tamika on. Good to see you, Tamika. We got Mother Barbara on. We got Ann's. Good to see you. And Miss B, Mother Brenda's. Good to see you. And I'm excited about today's topic. I'm a little concerned. And I expressed my concern to my cousin. And I was just saying, because this topic is one of those topics that is really near and dear to leaders that are trying to work with a group of people and get them to move. But I hope that it translates to everybody that's here. I will say that my thought when putting it together was more about, whoever watches the video. I don't expect and I hope that you guys know that I don't feel like we're giving unique information. I feel like we're curating information, taking some of the greatest thinking out there and then showing it on here. And I don't care if it's mine or somebody else. If it works, I want to show it, So in fact, I used to get criticized for that. And I used to feel pressure to create, new acronyms, back when I was doing Elevate early on. And when I'm in this leadership program, hey, Mother Brenda, when I'm in this leadership program, they'll tell you straight up, yeah, we're going to charge you a heck of a lot of money. And listen, we ain't got no new information. They tell you straight up, first day, they say, we just curated. We just gather the best information that we know that works. And I was like, well, good. If y'all feel good about it, hell, that's what I've been doing, so I feel good about it. So that's what it's about. Today, please, we got some more people on. Please type your name and how you're doing today or what city you're in or like and share. But I see some names, but I see more people on there. So I just want to get everybody involved before we start. Elevate is a consulting company, leadership company, and our goal is to consult and coach. Our customer is the person who got elevated to a leadership position because as a individual, they did a great job, but they have never been trained to develop people. They never understood really leadership. They kind of understand the idea in their mind, but if they don't quite understand how to be effective and how to do it quickly. But that's who we're going towards. Now, my wife and I, we run the company, and Char's been a business analyst and a project manager for over 10 years. She also has her own business, Cupcake and a Smile. I think I gave a report last time. I gave a report about the cookies you sent. So, we sent some cookies to San Antonio staff. The company I'm with, they're based out of San Antonio. We sent some cookies and some brownies out there, and I got calls, and people are ecstatic. So that's like, that's like my little secret weapon. I like to do it like once a year for them, just to let them know, and hopefully they pick Char up because once a year we usually send out cookies to everybody in the company, and they're using what's that company? Treats. They're using TIFF Treats right now, but maybe Char can take over Houston. You know what I mean? So the biggest market is Houston. So anyway, it went well. I've been in leadership for over 30 years, and my passion is just to pass it along. I mean, I've been blessed to be around some great leaders. I can spend 3 episodes talking about just one leader that highly influenced me, and that's R.D. Martin. I will say that forever. And he's just a great leader, hands down, the greatest leader I've been around. And he's just a genuine guy, a great communicator. He's great creating visuals in his communication. He's great in just his character. He just has great character. He's trustworthy, and then he desires to help you. His desire was to be a teacher. And I don't know. I think that has a lot to do with why he's so effective, because he just wants people to grow, And then he was talked into staying with Sonic, and he, of course, he has 30 something stores and he's the principal owner. So anyway, it's a great guy. So just like it was passed along to me, and he really showed me the impact a great leader can have. My desire is to do the same, and I do the same with my guys. I just want them to grow, and I'm hoping that they run with the information we give them, and then the stuff they don't run with, I'm trying to figure out ways to communicate a better way so that I can get them on board. So anyway, elevate. That's what it's about. All right. So today is We Squared. We Squared. What is We Squared? Any ideas, Shar? We Squared. Any ideas? Let's open up the line here. Any ideas? What you guys, Stephanie, any idea what We Squared, what I mean by that? We Squared? Shar just looks at me and raises her up. She said it takes two to make a we. That is true. So at least two. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts on why we label it's called We Squared today? We Squared. Look at that. She was typing. I should have known. She gets her hustle on for her business. She said she was doing all that typing. I was like, what is she talking about over there? Cupcake and a Smile, LLC. We ship for those that want support. CupcakeandASmile.com and are not in the Houston area. Who doesn't like cookies and brownies? Order it for yourself, your neighbors, your family, your friends. You get the point. Place an order. Thanks for the cupcake love. So anyway, I would expect no less. So anyway, We Squared, what we're talking about here is that we know that it takes a team to make things happen. Whether it's a family, whether it's a business. But when we're talking about We Squared, first level is what I'm talking about is when you're the leader in the business. All right. When you're the leader in the business. We Squared is when you're the leader speaking to a leader in the business. That's what I mean by We Squared. So you got a leader in the business, but you're the leader talking to the leader in the business. So that's what I mean by We Squared. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today. And I hope that it connects with everybody on here. And like I said, we're going to share some information that hopefully can impact, even if it's in your family life. But it's very, very, I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. I've never got on here and said something I don't believe in. Shar gets on me sometimes about saying stuff I don't do. But I will say this, and this is an opportunity right here. I wouldn't say you get on me all the time, but she'll say something. But there's some things I don't do. And I always tell Shar, I said, man, I got an obligation to tell what you're supposed to do. I mean, am I trying to share me, or am I trying to share what's great leadership? So that's my take on it. I can sit here for 3, 5, 6, 7 episodes and tell you flaws and faults. But at the end of the day, they didn't put me in my position because I didn't know what to do. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm staying in my position, at least for now. I'm still in this position, so something got to be working, right? So We Squared, the first level of we one would be you a leader in the same building with your team. We Squared is when you're a leader talking to a leader that's in the building with their team. So you're I would say like a grandfather, if you had to tie it into a family, and you would have to exercise influence like from a grandfather or a grandmother perspective, because you're not in that house. You're outside of that house and you're trying to impact that house. So that's what We Squared is all about. So one thing I wanted to say is that it all starts with that one. And we always say it in my business. We always say it's the man in the box. You put the right man in the box, a lot of problems go away. So today, that's the point I want to make starting off, is that it all starts with that one. So it all starts with having a great leader. It all starts with that. So whether you are a solid leader, a good leader, going to be great, you're that person that's in that box, and it starts with that one person. In a generation of not taking responsibility, in a generation of blaming, in a generation of not owning things, you got to find somebody that says, you know what, I own this thing. I own it. And when you find that person, that's where it starts, that one. So whenever I'm in a team, I always look for that one. Who is that person? Who is that person? That's that one. And the things that I look for in that one is simple. The things that I look for in that one is I look to see if they're trustworthy. Are there somebody I can trust? Right? That's to me, that's where it always starts. Is it somebody I can trust? I do the work I do at Impact Texas, and I don't even do a lot, but the little bit of work I do is because I trust my auntie. If I was a millionaire, I would do even more money. I would really do a lot more money. I would not be the person that gives their money to these other United Way, and there's nothing wrong with United Way. Why would I give it to them if I know somebody that's doing something I believe in? That's all that is. So I would give that money to her, and I've seen what she's done. I've seen the sacrifices she's made. Right. So I mean, that's why I do that. I find somebody I can trust. Right. That's the first thing, and that trust really points to the character. The second thing I look for is production. So I look back and I see, man, what is this person producing? What is it that they're producing? And that production really points to work ethic. So I'm looking at the trust, and that trust really tells me about their character, or that trust is the character really causes me to trust them. And then I'll look at Stephanie. Oh, thank you, nephew. And then that trust points to character, and that production tells me about their work ethic, right? The third thing I look for is their influence. Do they have any influence? Because that influence is going to tell me about their social ability. Can they connect to people? Do people gravitate to them? Can they lead a group? So I look at trust, I look at production, and then I look at influence. That's what I look for when I'm picking that one. And if you pick that one right, then you'll win. You'll win. Anything you do outside of picking that first one, it's going to be hard for you to win. It just matters what the challenge is, right? If the challenge is not that big, then sure, you could probably win. If the challenge is really great, you're going to have a hard time, right? You're going to have a hard time winning. So anyway, what is the difference between the first and second level? So what is the big difference between the first and second level? And this is when I would like some people to chime in and put in there, be responsible. But if you're just sitting back and here it is, Wednesday at 7:14, and we talked about we squared, and the first we is the leader in the building. And then the we squared is the leader that's outside the building working through another leader. What do you think is the biggest difference between the two? What's that? I don't even know why I didn't think she would say it. She said pay grade. True. Yeah. Pay grade. Any other responses from America here? Any other responses? What do you think is the biggest difference between the two? And I should clarify this. What do you think is the biggest difference between the two to be effective? I'm sorry. Hey, Darren, it's good to see you on again. Uh-oh. We're going to put you on a regular list. You're going to put one of those. What do they put on there when a person's been on there for? They put a little star on. We don't control it, but they're going to put a little star on there probably for you. It's good to see you. But what is the difference between the abilities between the two? That's the best way I can put it. Ann says being hands-on. Okay. Being hands-on. That's a good one.
Maybe being more influential.
Shar said being more influential. That's good. That's good. Aunt Stephanie said experience, reliability, responsibility. I think all of those are right. The three that I was thinking of was in their abilities. This is just looking at the abilities, because to me, the difference between a we one and a we squared, the difference is the we squared is probably has a lot more. I should say this, a lot less control. So the we squared person has a lot less control because they're not in there, right? And said being available, that's definitely one. The other thing I think is the difference is the self-confidence. You get ripped a lot the higher you go up. You get ripped a lot. So if your self-confidence is not intact, you don't need to be up there. You got to have a way of looking at this thing. The higher you go up. The third thing is I would say is training ability. Because if you cannot communicate and train and you're removed from the building and you have to affect that building, then that's going to be a problem. So I would say, understand if you have to understand how to deal with a lot less control. It's a lot easier to make things happen when you're in the building. The other thing is that you have to be strong in your self-confidence. That has to be intact. And then the other thing I would say is your ability to train. You have got to, it has to just come off the tongue. I mean, you got to, and we're just talking about every situation. It just comes out. This is how you handle it. This is how you handle it. And then you got to say how you handle it in a way that connects to them. Right. So to me, that's the biggest difference. Guys, 7:17. Jesus. So the question you have to ask when moving your team forward, there's 6 questions you have to ask. And let's see what we got here. That's a good one. Not too removed from the direct staff. So there's 6 things you got to ask yourself. And these 6 things is the first question is you already picked that one guy, right? So it doesn't matter if you are the person in the store and you need help and you're the leader, you got to pick that one person and this is what to me a lot of nonprofits mess up on. They don't pick one. Everything starts with one. You start with one, you influence that one, that one influences some more, but you got to pick the right one to start off with. And then if it's a for-profit, it's the same thing. If you're in the building, you got to pick that one, that second person that's going to be the mouthpiece, that's going to be the person echoing everything that you're talking about. If you're the leader that's outside the building, you still got to have the right one that you deal with inside the building, that one that's going to echo what you're saying. And it goes back to, can you trust that person? Do they have a good work ethic? Do they have influence, right? Sounds simple. Sounds pretty simple. So the first question you got to ask yourself when you're trying to build this team forward is that you got to ask, what's in it for them? You have to have something that motivates people, something where people see a future in. What is it for them? You know, and that's a big one. What's in it for them? You know, because if a person sees a dead end, they're going to give you dead end work. Their work ethic, their energy, their passion is going to be like a dead end. The second question is you got to ask yourself is, how do I consistently communicate what's in it for them? Because you could have what's in it for them on every social media site. You could have it on your training modules, and that doesn't mean anything. Where do they hear it from you? Every day, I tell my guys to continue to repeat, you know, especially if you're in a culture where it can be high turnover. You want to continue to repeat. What's the benefits? Why? Why am I doing this? You just know life turns like this. Stuff goes up and down, sideways and everything. But this job right here has this for you. And, you know, just what is that thing? You got to decide how you're going to communicate that thing. What is that thing and how you're going to communicate it consistently? What's in it for them? And I will always say it's not always money. Now, I think that you need to have that if you can. If it's a nonprofit, what are you going to do? Then it got to be about purpose. You know, this is a greater good, stuff like that. I know when we do the backpacks, we ain't getting, I know Aunt Stephanie ain't getting paid anything for that. Not getting paid a dime for the most part. I mean, she's done a lot of work and not get paid. So she's looking at the greater purpose. The people that volunteer with her are looking at the greater purpose. I know it's just something to see when it's popping. When that thing is popping, it's something to see. And you walk away with some enjoyment. But I will say this, even if it is money that you have and you have a good pay plan and you can show that a person can succeed and make a lot of money, one thing that I always remember, and this is a powerful quote, and I've shared it with you guys before. It says, remember, people always choose the economic level they'll accept. It's never thrust on them. You are constantly in the process of schooling yourself to accept the level of prosperity that you have, or you're exerting extra effort to get more. So even if you have, like I got guys all over the place. I got guys that are working their butt off because they want to make more. I got guys that are making good money, but not great money, and they're satisfied. And their production is waning. I'm struggling to get them to go up because they're satisfied with the amount of money they're making. You know, then you got a guy making the same amount of money that's not that satisfied, and he's working his butt off to go like this. But eventually, I know that he has a number where he's going to sit there and relax. So my job is to build a culture that focuses on growth, not just on a dollar amount. I got to focus on growth, and I got to keep my guys focused on continually improving. In other words, we're going to have problems. So that's the challenge when dealing with a team. You got to get them focused on something more than the money, even if you use money as kind of like a carrot. You got to get them focused beyond that and focus on growth, because everybody has an amount that they feel comfortable with. Number 3 is, what metric can we focus on that has the most impact? So I will share this story. I was a part of a team. I was a director of a store, and we worked with the American Heart Association. And our job was to raise money for the American Heart Association. So it's a company, but once a year they work with the American Heart Association. So we sell these little hearts. And what we did is we found, we just used how many people, each person, each cashier, how many hearts that they sold. And we took that and we put it on a board, and we would change it every 3 days. So we'll put these names up, and we'll, right where you come out of the break room, you will see this huge poster where it shows who were the leaders. And we just made sure that we communicated to them who was really producing. And we just kept that board, and you would see people just staring at it. You would see people staring at it that wasn't even a part of it, because everybody couldn't be a part of it because everybody wasn't a cashier. So we had a metric that we looked at, and it was just the number of hearts sold. I was with another company that did this for MDA. They sell the little shamrocks, and the company I was with, what they would do is they would make pictures and make designs, maybe an air balloon out of the shamrocks. It was creative. People would do all kind of stuff with the shamrocks that were purchased, and they would put the name across the shamrock. And what we did was we had the same thing. We had that metric where people looked at who was productive, right? And that visual is so powerful if a person can see. So like I was telling Shar, she ain't done it yet, but I was telling Shar, like in her business, if she was to put the max that was sold on a Thursday, that person that comes in on the Thursday that maybe sells over the goal, which we celebrate, you did over the goal, great job. But just know that Joanne sold twice what you sold, because then that person knows what the possibility is. Instead of being satisfied with just being great, they understand that there is a greater. So every day, if I was in Shar's business, I would have a number that shows how great Monday, the greatest Monday was this. The greatest Tuesday was this. The greatest Wednesday was this. And then when they beat the goal, hey, great job. You beat the goal, man. Awesome. Woo! You know, whatever you want to do, pom-poms, bells, all that stuff. But they can't help but see on the poster that the greatest Monday was twice what I did. And then it gets them to think, you know. So those are the kind of things that I think are powerful. How do you communicate? What metrics do you use, right? And I'm telling you, we had a guy at that company I was with. We had a guy with the American Heart Association that was struggling. And what he did was he found a friend to get an ambulance. He had a real nurse in his store checking blood pressure, and we killed him. He did all that. All we did was have our cashiers do what they're supposed to do. And then when we had cashiers that weren't doing what they're supposed to do, we moved them to cash register that most customers don't go to. And we were like number 11th in the company. And it was like 1,700 stores. We were number 1 in Houston, right? So we actually, they came and asked me what I was doing. Same thing with the MDA. They came and asked me what I was doing because we were like 4th in the company. It was like 1,100 stores, and we were 4th in the company, number 1 in Houston. So they said, well, what are you doing? And I told them, all the people that make this thing complex, it's not about complexity. It's about simplicity. You keep it simple, and that's how you win. So at the end of the day, number 3 was, what metric can you focus on? And what metric will make the most impact? Are you guys still, please put a 1 down. It's 7:26, and I feel like I've been talking too much. It's 7:26. My wife's going to encourage her. She's like, yeah, you're doing good. And she nods off. Yeah. No, she did nod off. She did nod off, guys. So anyway, number 4, I'm running out of time. How do I consistently follow up? So I want to share this, and I'm going to run through the last two because it's only 7:26, already 7:26. But I am so happy, y'all. We've been talking about desired outcome. We've talked about FISBE. We talked about the problem orientation or the solution orientation. And I've been trying to figure out a way to get my guys more focused on the desired outcome. So I'm so excited because tomorrow morning at 6:30 in the morning, I'm having my first meeting with 3 of my leaders about what our desired outcome is when it comes to sales and when it comes to training. And we picked that one guy. And that one guy, I told him what my desired outcome was, what I'm really hoping to achieve. He believed in it. I asked him if he can convince the other 2 guys, because the team is too big just to have one guy trying to push it. We need at least 3 guys pushing this. And he said, yeah, he convinced those other 2 guys. And we got an amazing amount of energy over this. So at 6:30 in the morning, before they have another meeting, we're going to be on the phone talking to each other, going over an agenda that we have. We're going to discuss 2 guys that we want to promote, and we're going to hold our team accountable to making sure they meet the deadlines. And nobody's doing this. Nobody. I know it sounds like, well, what are you so happy for, Curtis? That's not deep. Ain't nobody doing it. Nobody doing it. We're going to have, can you imagine where we'll be 2 months, 6 months from now, where we'll be? So I'm so excited about that. So how do we consistently follow up? We're followed up every 6:30 in the morning. And we got 4 guys, and those 4 guys are going to be responsible for making it happen. So super happy about that. Number 5, did I count wrong? Number 5, did I count wrong? How can I make it visual to create a positive peer pressure? So that goes down to the sign I was talking about. But you got to make this thing visual for people. I feel like I've already said that. I said, what metric can we focus on? I kind of used the example about how you can make it visual, but you have to make it visual for them. To me, even when you got to sell this to the people, right? And such an encourager. If I was the president, I'd probably jump off a building. Man, that stuff looks stressful. I'm looking from afar. That just looks stressful. I'm like, man, I got 13 stores. I couldn't imagine having 50 states, 300 million people. So anyway, that's what it's all about, making it visual, and you got to sell this to your people. And I never work from the perspective of authority. I always try to work from the perspective of influence. Now, if you come at me, I always say, hey, don't let me pull out that card. And they know what I mean by that, because we are in Houston, y'all. You can be too nice sometime and they try to run over you. So you got to pull out that card. Like, hey, don't let me use my position to make this happen. You know what you're supposed to do. Don't let me have to go there. And most of the time, I would say 99.9% of the time that stops whatever. So here it is, 7:29. I hope you got this. I hope you understand We Squared. We Squared is about it all starts with the 1. And if you pick that 1, you need to look for a person that you can trust, a person that's productive, a person that have influence. And then the difference between the two levels, a person that can run a store or a person that has to influence a person that runs a store, the person that is outside the box or outside the store needs to understand how to operate with less control. They can't be a control freak because you're not there. The second thing, they have to have incredible self-confidence. The third thing is that they have to have a training ability. And then the questions you have to ask yourself as you move your team forward is, what's in it for them? You got to be able to communicate what's in it for them. And number 2 is you got to consistently communicate that, whether it's team meetings, emails, contests. The next thing is, number 3 is, how do you follow up? You have to be able to follow up and hold people accountable. And the other one is, what metrics can we focus on that has the most impact? And then number 5 is, how can you make it visual and create a positive peer pressure with the group? And that's what today's about. We Squared. We Squared. So thank you. It's 7:31. I really appreciate you guys' time. Please like and share. Please like and share. If there's anything you need, call us. Daryl, I appreciate you getting on. I appreciate you all getting on. But Daryl, you guys know Daryl's an old friend of mine, and he is really old. But remember our thanks, Tamika. Remember our slogan: be intentional, focus on growth, and elevate now. Be intentional, focus on growth, and elevate now. You guys have a good one.